I'm Dr. Vanati, working in the Cornea Cataract Refractive Surfaces as Professor of Ophthalmology, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi. Happy to be here with you on this occasion of World Sight Day to talk to you about the common eye problems and make you a little more aware of these conditions which can affect one's eyes. I have no financial interest during the course of any material which is mentioned in this talk. We all know that we will always remember what we see. The eye is the soul of what we know and what we see. 80% of all our memories are formed by beautiful sights. So, on this World Sight Day, which is a global event, I would like to draw your attention to the common causes of blindness and visual impairment. This particular World Sight Day is celebrated uh, to sort of make us more aware of all the problems which exist or which affect the eye, the vision blindness conditions, and the treatments which would help us to cure these impairments. So, I'm going to talk to you over the next 20 minutes or so on the common anterior segment problems of the eye or the common conditions such as cataract, glaucoma, refractive errors, which one should be aware of and knowledge of which is really going to help in taking good care of your eyes here. Let's start with how do you define blindness? Blindness is defined as a visual acuity which is less than 3 by 60, which is what we measure on the Snellen's visual acuity chart, in the best corrected eye here, and the visual field is limited to less than 10 degrees. So, this is the international classification. This is what we are adopting now as of in India as well. And what we would like to know is about 2.2 billion people in the world are affected with visual impairment or blindness here. About 1 billion of them have avoidable blindness. That is very interesting. So, half of the blindness can actually have been prevented, and this is preventable or avoidable blindness. What is more interesting is that a large portion of this reside in the developing countries of the world. India, as such, hosts about 2% of this blind population here. Currently, about 1.1 million people in India are corneally blind, meaning the blindness is as a result of affection to the cornea or what is known as the Kalaputli here. So we are going to need about over 1 lakh transplants to clear this blindness, which is because of corneal conditions here. Currently, we are only doing one fourth of that, which means we have to step up our performance by over 4 times of what we are doing right now. And our tissue yield or the demand for corneal donations is 4 times higher than what we are currently performing now. So, this is of significant importance, and I will deal with this as we go further into our talk. Understanding how the eye functions is very important to really realize what are the common conditions which can affect the eye. I'm not going to go into a science class here, but we all know that the front portion or the transparent portion of the eye, which transmits the color of the iris, hence we have a black cornea or a blue colored cornea or a glee colored cornea, is what is known as the cornea or the kala putli here. The rest of what is we see as a white structure surrounding the cornea or the safed putli here. So common conditions which can affect the cornea, the conjunctiva, which is the membrane which lines the safed putli around the cornea, the lens, which when affected will become cataractus, certain conditions which affect the inner portions of the eye, which is the retina. So the retinal conditions are what I'm going to talk to you about in the next 20 minutes or so. So, what are the common eye conditions one needs to be aware of? We all know the commonest, perhaps, is a refractive error. What do you mean by refractive error? Where we need glasses or an optical correction to see clearly. The highest number of blindness is because of cataract in India. What is cataract? The lens which is clear within the eye starts becoming opaque as we become older. And that's what is known as a cataract. And cataract blindness is the most important cause of visual impairment in most places globally, as well as in the Asian population, in developing countries, and also in India. But we also have a significant contribution from what is known as glaucoma. Just as we have blood pressure, there is also a pressure which exists within the eye. And if this pressure within the eye increases, it is called glaucoma. We also have conditions which affect the retina, which is known as age-related macular degeneration, or degenerative conditions affecting the center portion of the retina, which occur due to age. This is also a significant contribution because of this to visual impairment. Lifestyle diseases like diabetes and hypertension also play an important role in affecting vision. Corneal opacity is a major part of this problem is because of avoidable or preventable blindness, which we will listen to during the course of my talk now. So as you can see what these figures are depicting here, refractive errors, cataract, glaucoma, diabetic retinopathy, corneal opacities, and age-related macular degenerations form the highest number of cases in contributing towards visual impairment. Let's look at some common eye problems here. The eye problems which affect the children and which affect the adults are going to be different here. The common ones which would sort of affect both would be eye strain, refractive errors, allergic conditions of the eye, infections of the conjunctiva, color blindness or night blindness. So these would be the common conditions which sort of affect both the age groups. In children, if your refractive error is not corrected on time, or if there are other pathologies within the eye, this leads to the child not using that particular eye with poor vision, and the eye becomes what is known as a lazy eye and starts becoming deviating from the center position. This is known as a squinting eye, and the laziness or the visual potential of that particular eye starts decreasing, and it's not correctable to the maximal visual potential, and that's known as an amblyopia. There are other conditions which can affect the lid and the other parts of the eye, but by and large, these would be common conditions affecting the children. What about the adults? As we all know, when we age or we go beyond 40 years, we probably will need plus glasses to see near vision, to see the small objects, to see small prints clearly. This condition of needing reading glasses, it's perhaps not a disease, but it is a part of a change due to aging, and this is known as presbyopia. It is important to realize that the eye, the lens within our eye, acts as a normal camera lens with an automatic focus where it can adjust our vision to any distance which we are seeing. This capacity to automatically focus different distances starts decreasing as we age or we grow over 40 years of age. And the lens is not able to autofocus on the near objects as well as it was doing before. And that's why we are going to need reading glasses, and this is known as presbyopia. Cataract is another disease which occurs due to age. It can also occur due to a variety of other causes. This will again cause blurring of vision. Glaucoma, age-related macular degeneration, and diabetic retinopathy are the other conditions. Let us look at these in a little detail here. Age-related macular degeneration, what happens and what you get to see is what you're seeing out here. The center part of the visual field which you're seeing starts to look like a gray area because your center part of the retina has become affected because of age-related degenerative changes. Apart from heredity, lifestyle contribution as smoking and obesity are also going to aggravate this problem. You need to see your ophthalmologist to carry out specific tests here to look at the damage which has been done to the center portion of the retina by particular tests. There are two types: the dry type of age-related macular degeneration, nothing much can be done to help it out, but the wet type can be treated with a few injections, and your ophthalmologist will examine you and tell you what is the right treatment for you and if this condition affects your eye here. Diabetes, a lifestyle disease here. You have a type 1 and type 2 diabetes here. We'll talk about age-related diabetes, and here this is a disease which affects the small blood vessels in different parts of the body, different organs of the body. In the eye as well, it affects the blood vessels within the eye, within the retina, and that's when, because of diabetes, you'll end up getting diabetic retinopathy. You can get cataracts as well. So it is imperative to keep your blood sugars under very good control. Rapid deterioration of blood sugar is going to cause major changes within parts of the eye. Diabetic retinopathy can cause progressive painless vision loss. The patient might be unaware of it and then land up with a sudden heavy bleed within the eye and sudden vision loss. So it is important that you take good care of your diabetes. What is important to understand is the first 5 years of onset of diabetes has to be under very good control, as it has to be during the rest of the term of the disease as well, in order to slow down the progress of the damage done to the blood vessels within the body, within the eye. This will help in preserving the vision and minimizing the progress of or the onset of damage to the eye. This is imperative to understand, and hence a good lifestyle, adopting a good lifestyle is going to go a long way in controlling the blindness which can result because of this particular disease. What actually occurs? Your vision starts getting blurred. You might see floaters. There might be fluctuation of vision, color vision. The way you perceive colors can get impaired. So these are particular affections because of this disease. And you have to keep seeing your diabetologist to see that your blood sugar control is optimal here. And go to your ophthalmologist for regular checkups of your eye condition and see that your retinopathy has started, has not started, or if started, is it progressing, or it does need any interventions depending upon the stage in which it is. Glaucoma, as I already told you, is an increase in pressure within the eye. There are various types of glaucoma, glaucomas which affect children, the newborns, which can affect infants, glaucoma which can affect due to childhood, due to trauma. But largely, glaucoma, which occurs in the older age group, is a slowly progressive blinding disease, and the patient usually is not aware of his problems until it has gone to an advanced stage. So if you are having a frequent change of glasses, if you're having headaches, if you're having rainbow halos around bulbs, these are common alerting conditions that you need to see your ophthalmologist to get the relevant tests such as tonometry, gonioscopy, visual field testing done, which are all indicators to see if you have glaucoma and if and about the stage of your glaucoma here. The large stay of management in glaucoma is medical therapy. So your ophthalmologist will be able to see you and tell you if you're going to need the appropriate drops, how frequently you need to use them, the right ones for you. Then some cases, if warranted, your ophthalmologist is going to suggest other modalities like laser therapy for control of glaucoma and surgical interventions like trabeculectomy, filtering valve surgeries, and minimally invasive glaucoma surgeries here. So, glaucoma is a disease where you need to be under continual follow up with your doctor in order to keep the pressures under control, in order to take care that the damage done to the inner structures of the eye because of raised pressure is also kept under control. And timely intervention can help to save losing an eye to blindness because of glaucoma. Let's then move on to some of the more common conditions. As we all know, all of us wear glasses here, most of us do. And we know we wear minus glasses or plus glasses here. So there are three common conditions: myopia, which means you need minus glasses for clear vision, hyperopia or hypermetropia, which means one needs plus glasses for clear vision, and astigmatism, or in layman's term, is need cylindrical glasses for clear vision here. So in myopia or nearsightedness, you're able to see near objects clearly, but distant objects are not clear. In hyperopia, distant objects are clear and near objects are not clear. And in astigmatism, there is an irregularity of the refracting surface of the eye. So the patient is not able to see clear images as you would see here, and the lines appear blurred or doubled. That's because the refracting surface of the cornea is not smooth or spherical, and there are different refractions occurring from the principal planes here. So in layman's term, one would need cylindrical power for correcting this condition, which is known as astigmatism. So what does all these refractive errors cause? They cause blurred vision, and the eye is constantly striving to see clear or accommodating to manage this refractive error, and hence lands up with headaches, eye strains, and when the errors are not corrected on time, it leads to what is known as strabismus or squint when the eyes start deviating here. Commonly, you have other vision problems as well here. When this condition is recognized and treated on time with glasses, it helps you to give back your complete vision potential here. Commonly, refractive errors start occurring during the adolescent period of life. And if they are recognized and they are corrected well, it gives you perfect vision. If it not, then children such as you see in this here, they would start developing a deviation of the eye from the center. Here you could see the eye deviating to the inner aspect towards the nose. So this is known as a squint. This is because the vision in this eye is poor and the child is preferring to use the eye which has clearer vision here. This can be corrected by giving glasses to the child on time here, and what is known as occlusion therapy or amblyopia therapy, where you would close the normal eye and you will encourage the child to see with the eye with a refractive correction so that the vision develops well. The squint also gets corrected and the visual potential is raised to its maximum. So these are particular treatments which, when given on time, really help in restoring your vision to the full potential here. In adults who are wearing glasses, if you'd like to do away with your glasses, there are advanced refractive surgical procedures which are available here. So those who do not want to wear glasses could wear contact lenses here. There are a variety of refractive surgery procedures which are available, and your ophthalmologist will be able to check you, to look at your corneas, do a battery of tests to see which is going to be suitable for you and recommend the right procedure for you. So the various laser procedures for removal of glasses. If one does not want to wear glasses, there are procedures for placing lenses within the eye. So these will be advised depending upon the particular refractive error, the amount of refractive error, and the safety of these procedures for one's eye after the tests are particularly done. So this is a video which is showing a simple laser refractive procedure known as the SMILE. We do have femto-LASIK procedures as well, and other surface ablation procedures, phakic IOL procedures. So these are all procedures to correct refractive errors. By and large, what is important or what one needs to understand is that if one has a refractive error, he simply has to see the ophthalmologist and wear the right powered glasses so that his vision gets restored to normal. This would go a long way in helping to achieve maximal visual potential of the eye, especially when the eye is in developing stages, when a refractive error develops early on during childhood here. Cataracts, as I told you earlier, the lens within our eye is a transparent lens, much similar to that of a lens within a camera. And as we age, the density of the lenticular material becomes less transparent and more opaque. There are different types of cataracts which can occur. There are different causes due to which cataracts occur. An age-related cataract needs to be corrected, can be corrected in early stages with simple glasses. But once it's becoming more and more advanced, glasses are not going to help, and one needs to undergo a cataract surgery for achieving clear vision. Cataract is one of the most important causes of visual impairment globally and in developing nations as well. Early stages, you have a blurred vision, and some are not able to see well in daylight, depending on the type of cataract. Some will not be able to see in dim light. The perception of colors might not be normal, and the glasses will stop helping you further as the cataract starts getting advanced here. The whole picture appears blurred as if one is looking through a veil or a curtain. And this is when you need to see your doctor and see what is going to be the best possible scenario to correct your vision here. As you could see here, this is a simple cataract surgery which is being done using the phacoemulsification procedure. There are small incisions, so tiny blades which help to enter the eye here, and the cataractous lens is removed from its bag and an artificial lens is implanted into the eye. So this is pretty much the procedure or what happens during cataract surgery. There are certain tests which are done before one goes in for a cataract surgery to calculate the power of the artificial lens, the intraocular lens which is placed within the eye. Depending upon the requirement, which is custom for every patient, whether they are going to need simple power lenses or toric power lenses or multifocal lenses, we do have a lot of advanced options for the type of lens which needs to be fitted into the eye here. And after a complete and thorough examination and to look at other conditions which can coexist with cataract, your ophthalmologist will suggest the best possible intervention in order to manage the cataract. As you can see here, there's a small opening made in the front part of the bag which holds the lenticular material. The lenticular material is then removed through a small keyhole kind of surgery here. It's a very tiny instrument which is put into the eye, and the lenticular material is removed thoroughly. And within this lens bag, the artificial lens is then implanted so that the patient can see clearly. This is a very simple surgery, takes about 10 to 15 minutes, but has to be done carefully with thorough asepsis so that it's particularly safe and can be done as a daycare procedure so that the patient can get back to work the next day. But it is important to understand that you take care of all procedures to avoid infection by using preoperative drops, good care intraoperatively and postoperatively, and the patient can go back home and come back to see the doctor the next day and follow all the advice which is explained to by him by his treating doctor here. There you see the artificial implant intraocular lens which is placed, and the visual axis becomes clear once again and the patient is able to see. So this is one of the commonest forms of blindness or visual impairment, and a simple cataract surgery, when done properly and optimally, will go a long way in restoring vision in most of our patients here. I'll now move on to the next segment of avoidable blindness or preventable blindness. This is something all of us need to understand, that injury to the eye is something which can be prevented here, especially when you have children at home. Educating children on the right use of all things, you would find common injuries occurring with objects which they use to play, pencil tips, pen tips, scales, or things like that, or when they are at play. So, good education of children, good education of adults in their workplaces goes a long way in preventing needless injury to the eye. Another common aspect is road traffic accidents, assaults, which all would result in significant injury to the eye, as these pictures are showing. So, what happens when there is injury? The anterior coats of the eyeball rupture or tear, and the contents of the eye start to spill out here. Depending upon the extent of damage and the amount of damage done to the internal structures, the visual potential is going to go down, or there's going to be severe visual impairment here. So this is a form of avoidable blindness here, and educating people and children in learning to avoid needless trauma in workplaces, at home, during play, in industrial setup can go a long way in preventing this form of avoidable blindness. Another very common concept and common injury in India, particularly, is because of chemical injuries, chemicals falling into your eye, either because of assaults, either because of workplace accidents or domestic accidents here. A very sad and common sight, which is seen in several rural and urban homes in India, is children being allowed to play with the the tuna packet, the tuna which is used in pan. And this is a toxic alkali substance which spurts into the eye in a concentrated form and damages all the anterior structures of the cornea, the conjunctiva, the lids, lid margins. Depending upon the severity of the injury, the patient is liable to lose a particular amount of vision here. And this condition results in significant damage to the anterior surface of the eye, damage to structures which are important for lubrication and tear secretion, damage to the clarity of the cornea, and large parts of the lid start to stick together. And any amount of surgery in these conditions are not going to be very helpful in restoring vision. And when this particularly affects children, we are losing a lot of manpower here when children going to lose their eyes by such avoidable injuries. So this is an important aspect which we all need to look into and educate people about these avoidable injuries. Another common injury is infection which occurs on the surface of the eye on the cornea, which is known as corneal ulcers, commonly seen in ulcers, commonly seen because of any trauma or any foreign object or dust particle which falls into the eye. Also seen in patients who are wearing contact lenses who are not thorough with the hygiene while handling lenses, or those who rub their eyes with dirty hands here, those who are in the habit of washing their eyes, splashing tap waters into their eyes. So these are people who are prone to get conditions which are known as corneal ulcers or infections affect on the occur on the ocular surface. We'll have to treat them by medicines in some cases. And if medicines don't work and if the ulcers are progressive, then this part of the entire cornea needs to be transplanted by a cornea from a donor, and that's known as an eye transplant or the corneal transplant here, in order to do away with the corneal infection here. So this is another preventable condition, and all you need to do is take appropriate care and seek early treatment if an infection occurs. Conjunctivitis, we all know that is infection or redness which occurs from the white membrane which lines the white coat of the eyeball. Can occur as a simple infection because of dirty hands which we use to rub the eyes here. A simple hygiene goes a long way in preventing ourselves from getting conjunctivitis. Important things to realize is do seek an ophthalmologist's opinion for treatment if you get conjunctivitis. Avoid using over the counter drops because these can do undue damage if you use the wrong type of drops, and avoid splashing water into your eyes when you've got conjunctivitis here. So these are common things which you can take care of if you get infections of the ocular surface. Yeah. Now, with the COVID era, with a lot of us working from home and with a lot of hours being put into digital media, social media, eye strain is a particular problem here. And this could lead to eye irritation because of increased evaporative dry eye disease, as we tend to blink lesser when we are concentrating on our screens of our computers or our televisions or our mobiles here, can result in a stinging or a burning sensation and cause blurred vision as well here. So these are the various activities which are contributing to increased screen time, like smartphones, social medias, videos, chatting, news, movies. I think there are a number of on-screen activities now which contribute towards eye strain. So what do we do to prevent ourselves and protect ourselves from this eye strain? Always work and read under good lighting conditions. That's very important. And at the appropriate distance, the way the objects have to be placed, your screen is to be placed about 25 inches at the right level, and you have to be seated in the right position here. And follow the 20-20-20 rule, which states that every 20 minutes, if you're on the screen constantly, look away every 20 minutes at a long distance, which means across 20 feet away, for 20 minutes to relax your accommodation, and uh, that helps to get over your eye strain problems. Keep your eyes clean. Do not touch your eyes with dirty hands. And again, please do not wash by putting ordinary tap water into your eyes. That's going to take away a lot of your normal tears and the antibodies and the protective layer over the cornea. So if you can wash your eyes, wash it around near your lashes and the skin around your eye, but not by splashing water into your eye. Nighttime, you could sort of opt to use blue light exposures here. And when you're on a long screen time, blink consciously more oftenly so that the lubrication is better. Despite which, if you're going to have dry eye problems, then seek a consult with your ophthalmologist to take appropriate measures in order to check your eye strain and relieve your dry eye problems here. So what you all need to do is to to visit your ophthalmologist once perhaps at least in the preschool age to check up if there is any particular refractive error or identify any problems that a child might be having. If there is a family history of problems affecting the eye, then an earlier examination is always recommended. Testing for visual acuity, testing for requirement for glasses, visual field testing, a comprehensive examination using the slit lamp, evaluation of the retina by retinal examination, screening for glaucoma, or all examination modules which your ophthalmologist will help you to identify if you're affected by any particular problems. If you're wearing glasses, an annual checkup with your ophthalmologist is good. If you're a person wearing minus glasses, if you're a myope, then you need to check the health of your retina annually to pick up any problems that can affect your retina. If there's glaucoma in the family, early checkup to identify if glaucoma is affecting your optic nerve is another particular way by which you can safeguard your eye. And if you're close to 40 or over 40 and you're having reading problems, then near vision glasses go a long way. Opting to a healthy lifestyle will help lifestyle diseases damaging your eyes as well here. And if you do have lifestyle diseases, do visit your ophthalmologist to take care the diabetes and hypertension are not unduly affecting your eyes and you seeking right intervention at the right point of time here. Before I close, I'll talk to you about eye donation. I started this talk by telling you that India has a large number of people who are corneally blind, meaning their blindness is because of a corneal problem, and the rest of the parts of the eye are absolutely normal here. So, what do we mean by voluntary eye donation? Voluntary eye donation is when one realizes his or her social responsibility to people with corneal blindness in his society here and is willing to donate and pledge eyes in order to bring light into the lives of those who are corneally blind here. So it's important that eye donation has a time limit. So when a death has occurred in the family or in the neighborhood, one can always suggest that they consider eye donation, and the corneas need to be donated within 6 hours of death. So you'll have to be aware where to call, when to call, and call as soon as possible so that the recovery team from the nearest eye bank or the hospital will come over to retrieve the corneas and will go a long way in helping two corneally blind people to see here. Increasing awareness of blindness by talking about this to those who are not aware at your workplace, at your home, and social gatherings in your neighborhood help a lot. And people can pledge their eyes, and even those who have not pledged their eyes can always donate in the event a death occurs in the family here. There are certain diseases, and if the donor has been affected by particular diseases, then the cornea will not be suitable for donation here. And remember that eye transplant, as is known in layman's terms, is actually corneal transplant. And this is just the anterior portion of the eye, which is going to be taken away from the cadaver and not the entire eye. And it's the center clear portion, the central 8 millimeters button, which is going to be transplanted. So only those people who are corneally blind, meaning those who have been affected by blindness because of corneal diseases, will be able to see if they undergo a corneal transplant surgery. This is a short clipping showing you of how one goes about doing an eye transplant surgery here. That is a particular cornea where you've seen a white opacity which is affecting the surface of the cornea. The central 8 millimeters of the cornea which is affected by the opacity is removed and then is replaced by the donated clear 8 millimeters of cornea, which we saw earlier was being cut from the donor button here. So this is a surgery which is about half an hour and so. There are several techniques depending upon the kind of corneal condition which has affected the eye here. And this, by and large, in layman's terms, is known as eye transplant, but it is not the entire eye which is going to be transplanted, but it's only the cornea which is transplanted here. And most of the time, when people donate eyes, the whole eye is not taken. It's only the anterior portion of the eye which is required for transplant, which is taken. So this is a corneal transplant surgery. One needs to remember that this surgery by and large can be prevented by those who have got blindness because of corneal conditions, which could have been totally avoided by trauma, by corneal ulcers here. So taking care of your eye in a proper manner goes a long way in preventing or avoiding the need for an eye transplant surgery here. Do motivate people in your family, people in your neighborhood to pledge their eyes so that they are aware of this concept of eye donation here. And corneal donation will go a long way in decreasing the burden of corneal blindness that exists in India. Always remember that only the corneal blind people will be able to see if you do an eye transplant or a corneal transplant in these patients here. Once more, it's just not about pledging eyes, but it is important to encourage and talk to people who are in mourning in the event of a death in the family or a neighborhood and encourage them to donate the corneas of their loved ones. And it goes a long way in bringing beauty and life into those who have lost their vision because of corneal blindness here. With this, I would like to stop and I thank Santon for the opportunity to talk to you all about increasing awareness of common eye conditions and how we can contribute towards a safer society with a maximal beauty of vision. Thank you.